Welcome to another episode of One of Us Knows What They're Talking About, and the other one is you. I'm Lori Birch, your host. Join us as we discuss and unpack wills, trusts, estate planning, and probate law in a way that's actually informative, interesting, and, well, hopefully entertaining. Because if you don't have a will, the state of Texas has one for you. Let's dive in. Which episode is this? Are we at 27, 28?
This will be 31.
31?
We've done this
Yeah.
31 times.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So for 30 times I've carried it. Now it's your turn. I do think you know, because I actually stole this from our John, that the title is One of Us Knows What They're Talking About, and the other one is you. So
I didn't know
premise,
you took that from him.
Do you
yeah,
want to?
well, I made sure when he said it, it was in a dragon training. And so when he said it, I thought it was just so brilliant, as are so many things that he says. And I did a lot of research to see if that's been used before, if he's quoting something else, and I couldn't find it. So I've decided to steal it. So we like to talk about things, and we have guests from time to time where a frustration that we have where we know things and we're challenged with other people who think they know things, like Google, whatever Google tells them, or whatever ChatGPT tells them. And then somehow this is evolved or devolved, depending on your perspective. Oh, we have a special guest today.
Is it Memphis?
Oh my God, I feel like I haven't seen him in so long.
I know, he's been very neglectful lately. Come on, buddy.
Or neglected, whichever.
And somehow, because Sarah and Sam share a brain cell, this is according to them, by the way. Yeah. And I decided yesterday that it's more like a community property brain cell, meaning it's not where you could cut the brain cell in half and each one has half. It's they have equal access to the whole.
And Jordan as well, I feel like.
Yeah. Yes.
But I feel like she needs her own brain cell if she's really planning to do this law school thing.
That's when she ramps up. She gets her own brain cell.
She gets her own brain cell when she ramps up.
It's when she gets awarded.
Yes. Yeah. So Sam, our case manager, Jordan, left earlier this year to go to law school to study for the LSAT. And then she came back. And she's been studying for the LSAT. And she actually takes it this Saturday.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. 11:45.
So we had some other transitional things happen with the firm. And so Jordan really knows her stuff. And so she came back, what I thought was going to be in a temporary capacity to assist. And then one day, a couple weeks ago, she's in the office and I'm just chit-chatting with her about the LSAT, like when she takes it. And so she said, I take it first week of November or second week, I guess it is, in November. And she said, but after that, I'm going to be ramping up. And I looked at her and I said, what? What does that mean? And I'm like, you know what? I don't need to know. Like, why would I need to know?
Out. No worries. It's been worked out. I will make sure that she just stays her notary capacity. She has,
Yeah.
Does more than that.
We don't know what's going to happen. We're kind of hoping that maybe she'll pick a local law school and, some squeeze in time for us, or potentially, like I've floated the idea of doing a part-time program, which not all the local ones do that, but I do think A&M does the 4-year part-time one. And so, it means one more, but she's young. So what does it matter if it's one more year before she becomes a lawyer?
Right.
And then she'll really ramp up.
Yeah, I wouldn't tell anyone to hurry to finish law school.
I wouldn't even tell anybody to go to law school.
Correct. In fact, I don't know
listen
any lawyers that support people going to law school. Every lawyer I know, we all try to talk everyone else out of it. So, yeah.
it's awful. But anyway, so we appreciate you being here. Sam and Sara always have, back to the whole sharing a brain cell, have their own little special segment towards the end where it kind of falls off the rails.
I'm excited.
But it's actually going to be it's going to be a little bit more interactive with you because I put in the topics that we want to cover, and I put in what you had put regarding some of the business law aspects. And both of them kind of were like deer in headlights. Like, what does that even mean? Which is really funny because part of it was that you put about like, and we can start here once we start. I mean, we have started. Yeah. Sarah's going to find gold here. But when we start on the most substantive part, notice I didn't say substantive part, just the most substantive part. Where you put BOI. What's so funny is that Sarah's like, she puts this GIF, or is it GIF? Oh, Sam, we should have that debate again.
Are we going to do that on camera? Are we doing this?
That was one. You know, we should do Jamie and you in the same podcast, and we can try to relive the GIF conversation, and then talk about how we went to the loudest bar in Nashville with my child. Because it's the only place, because it was like COVID-y. It was the only place we could find. And we were at the same table, but we were texting each other.
It was too loud. We couldn't hear each other talking. So we had to, it was the only way to communicate. And it was
Adley was
one of the
living
best
her best
conversations
life.
I've had. Oh, she was
eating a sundae. And she's just like, getting down to the live music, eating her sundae. And then somehow we started having the GIF debate. And you want to talk about devolving.
Seriously, that was.
Isn't that right, Sam Johnson?
Don't even Joe there.
Can it be Goke?
Oh, for the love of John. Okay. So, but the funny part, so you put in, talking about BOI / Corporate Transparency Act, and Sarah does this GIF that it's way over my head. And I'm like, and yet, Sarah, you put together our BOI email that we sent to everybody.
All right. Perfect. Form over content.
Yeah. I guess as an employer, that's actually a little heartwarming that she literally just does what I say to do. She does not like look at what it is, think about it on her own. She just takes it and whatever. Sounds good, Lori. Whatever this means. So anyway, I did, and this might be something that Sarah may or may not decide to edit out. You had pointed out when we first scheduled this, when it's being recorded, not when it will be released. But when it'll be recorded is a day after our presidential election. And I'm like, oh, well, maybe we'll chit chat about that. And I don't know that I want to, actually.
Yeah.
No.
I don't, why? Yes, I agree. I mean,
I have no words.
There's not much to say right now. Yeah.
Yeah. So Sam Anderson, not to be confused with Sam Johnson, Sam Anderson, is not from here. She hails from New Zealand, and her parents are traveling right now. Are we allowed to share this, Sam? Because I know that they
I don't know why not.
Listen religiously. Okay. Anyway, her dad lost his green card to get back to the country earlier this week, and I was kind of thinking maybe
Can we say he lost the physical card, not like he lost the ability? He lost the actual thing while traveling. The physical thing.
It never occurred to me that anyone would take that as it being revoked. No, he is abroad visiting the homeland, and he lost it.
Yeah,
and
misplaced it.
Yes,
it is.
It's on its journey. It's on its own journey. Wow.
So maybe someone swiped it. Maybe they knew it was going to happen.
Maybe.
Yeah.
You never know.
That's right.
Okay. Thanks for the visit, Memphis. Okay. So
Bye,
anyway,
Memphis.
we'll just skip right over that and hold on
Probably
to
better
our
for a number of
britches,
reasons.
hunker down,
Yeah.
and see what we can do. and we'll make it happen. But anyway, so I'm just sitting here presuming everybody knows who Sam Johnson is, but Sam Johnson, I hate to say this in front of him, and recorded, but I just will. He's like one of my favorite human beings on the planet, and probably one of the best things that's ever happened to me. I think it's fair to say.
Oh.
And so, despite the fact that he's also a lawyer, and so anyway, he really knows his stuff, and he's just I cannot tell you how sick I have gotten, because I have, of hearing what a nice guy he is. But there's personal reasons why I got sick of hearing that. But anyway, he is truly a nice guy. And so Sam Johnson, not to be confused with Sam Anderson, home of the famous flapjacks.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. So Sam Johnson, that's something that came up. That came up, I don't know, a year or so ago, where I just felt like Sam Anderson sounds like a coffee house. Like, this, come down to the Sam Anderson, home of the famous flapjacks. So that's just kind of
like gems in Austin.
Doesn't it? Like, tell me this. If you were doing a road trip with your family and you passed a Sam Anderson, would you not be like, we got to stop there?
Probably would. I'm picturing like red log cabin style finish out. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. Butter syrup that you can buy at the register to take with you.
Smart.
Oh, yeah.
Sam's like, I got it, writing it
I'm
down.
all over it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that could be actually, Sam, please edit the part that you want to talk to Sam Johnson about and add that, please. It's my personal request. So anyway, Sam, tell us a little bit about you and your practice, and then let's talk about some things that you know about, but other people are just absolute morons about.
All right. Well, in our line of work, we come across a fair amount of that, like a lot of people in a lot of industries. A little bit about myself. I'll just stick with the law firm stuff for now. So I am a manager of Johnson Friedman Law Group, and we are a business and real estate law firm. So I would say what that means is that we give business owners and real estate investors the convenience, but not the cost of having an in-house legal department. My law partner, Max, does all the real estate work. I do the corporate work, and then I also oversee all of our business litigation as well, which is more interesting sometimes from an academic level, but it's usually not very fun for our clients. But the best way to end up in litigation is to start running your business and keep running it without learning what it is you're doing along the way.
Do you know, or does it frighten you? It's got to. We've never actually talked about this. The number of people that don't set up any sort of protected business entity, such as an LLC or whatnot. Like, I remember this was very early on in my practice, maybe within the first 5 years even. And I was doing a probate for someone, and it was their family that was coming to me, and they owned a family automotive repair center. And so I asked them, you know, how is this set up so we can figure out how we can, and they're like, no, we don't have an LLC or anything like that. And I'm just thinking the liability that could come from fixing people's cars. And so the first thing I did is, look, you guys need to look into this and get this set up. You know, and it's we deal with that in the same way you do, and that is people. And actually, I really want to talk to you about the people who do the DIY stuff, because that's a big point of contention for us. And the way that I usually talk about this is it's like being a Mad Lib lawyer. You just fill in the blank. And like anybody can do that. Like, you can have a piece of paper and it doesn't mean anything if it won't work when you need it. And the only reason you think it works, to your point, is because you haven't been sued yet. And the only reason you think it works in our case is because you haven't died yet. And you'll actually die thinking it works. It's your family.
Right.
And they either end up hating you, us, and or the court system. And, you know, that's really not the legacy people need to leave now, is it?
Right. Or their kids end up hating each other because of it too, because they can't agree on. Right. Exactly. No, I totally agree. I have a similar story. I had some clients that it was a husband and wife that owned a cheerleading gym in the Metroplex.
Oh my
And
gosh.
they had gone to Legal Zoom, excuse me. And
we have the same jokes, everybody.
I was going to say, wow, they're going to really be like, y'all do hang out in real life.
So they went there and they formed a general partnership, which means nothing from a legal perspective. And then when a student got injured, they were sued personally because a general partnership affords you no legal protection whatsoever. I don't even really call it an entity. It's just a relationship. And they were shocked because they were like, but we went to LegalZoom and we formed a general partnership and we thought that would protect us from whatever happens in the business. And they learned the hard way again in a lawsuit that, oh, this means absolutely nothing to protect our personal assets whatsoever.
I'm really surprised to hear that because I find it hard to believe that parents of cheerleaders would be litigious.
Right. I understand why you're confused. There's very, very little drama that goes on at such an establishment. Right. Yeah.
That's like dance moms.
I was going to say, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what else, Sam? What else do you see? What else is the word on the street? Like, what are you just constantly shaking your head at and can't even believe that people conduct their lives this way?
Well, the other thing is when people form an LLC and they do it themselves or they do it through like a LegalZoom and they do the filing with the state, but they don't get any of their internal governing documents done.
Yep.
Like with an LLC, you're supposed to have, I call it a company agreement. Some people call it an operating agreement. And so it's like, great, you've got this little sheet that you filed with the state, but the real meat of like how you're going to govern your entity is an internal thing that really you should have. So that is very, very common for me to ask, and it usually comes up right when there's multiple owners, like partners. It's not usually two spouses or a single owner. It's when there's people and someone is either not having the voting rights that they thought they had or the money rights that they thought they had. And all of a sudden it's like, well, you've given up your decisions by not creating this document. And instead you're relying on the statute that the legislature created, which I know is another, I'll let you use your saying that you have for that. But yeah, I know you have that similar concern and observation on your side of things too.
Yeah, so I actually want to ask you to define something, but I'm first going to ask Sarah to define it because it's fun.
Oh no,
Sarah, what does piercing the corporate veil mean?
Piercing the corporate veil?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm going to say it's exactly what it sounds like.
Well, that's usually where you start.
It's when you pierce the corporate veil.
That's not your best work.
I mean, that one's hard. You got to admit, that one's hard.
Normally, Sarah defines things with the words that are in what you're
she did.
But you usually rearrange them. You basically take it and then rearrange.
You would probably say it's
like
when
it's where you have a veil
corporately corporately pierce a veil.
You really let me down there. So here's your chance for redemption, which absolutely will also fail. What do you think that means, though, like in the legal world? Any guesses? I do this to Sarah just because she's the only person in the office who does not have anything to do with casework or clients. So it's always kind of fun to see.
So what I think it means in the real world, it's oh man.
Okay, I'm going to help you. Wait, Sarah, stop.
You're stressing her out.
The corporate veil, let's take something like an LLC. And I'm not even going to tell you, I'm not even going to ask what that stands for.
Please don't.
Okay. But do you know why people would set up a business entity like an LLC? Like, what is that to accomplish? You might actually get this.
I would presume it's to avoid liability on your person.
Sara, that's so great. Okay. So if you set up an LLC or other business entity to avoid liability, which when did you learn that word? I'm going to have to come to terms with that. Right? Asset protection, right? What do you think piercing the corporate veil means?
When you
got this,
like, so the veil, the veil is your corporation, and you go through it.
I think that's good.
Sam Johnson,
go through it.
See if you could do any better than that. What is piercing the corporate veil?
I'm not even going to attempt. I thought that hit the nail on the head for the most part.
There we
I'll
go.
just I'll clarify it a little further. So yeah,
okay.
It's busting through the entity to get personal liability on usually the owners of the entity for the entity's own liabilities and obligations.
That's what I said.
So,
yeah.
So to your point, when people can just go to whatever online site, or I don't know if you've dealt with this stuff, but we've started to see it. Like, I mean, maybe LegalZoom and all the other ones are like NOLO and all of that are better than like Chat GPT, because we've had people create documents through that, and it's really entertaining. But the issue is that if they do that, they think they have this protection, but when they don't have these other pieces, that is what allows somebody to be able to come in and say, well, you basically have a sham of a business.
Right.
We can get right through that.
Yeah, that's what courts look at, right? They're looking, the kind of the term of art they use is, are you ignoring the separateness of this entity, right? Are you not operating it with the formalities that an entity should be operated with? Are you paying your mortgage and taking your kids to Chuck E. Cheese on the company card, like that kind of stuff, where you really stop distinguishing in practice between yourself and your entity. And part of that is looking at if you've made the effort to have all the right documents. And that doesn't mean you have to create a ongoing work for yourself. Like when we have a single member or two spouses that are the only owners of an entity, an LLC in particular, because you can't do this with a corporation. But with an LLC, like the agreements we draft, they do away with the need for an annual meeting. So you don't have to have an annual meeting with yourself documented. But if you're...
What? Hold on. What if I want to?
That sounds kind of fun.
Well, I think that you should. I think you should have meetings with yourself as often as you like.
Hold on. What if I decide that I need to have a meeting with myself about my business, and I decide, let me take myself to lunch?
Well, you're going to have a quorum, Cynthia, and we'll see if you...
But it's just me. I don't know. Sometimes I do argue with myself. We'll
Sara,
revisit
do you know
this.
what quorum is?
No.
This is awesome. It's not just a street. It's not just a street in Dallas.
That was my first thought. I was like, it's down the road. I don't know.
She's right there.
There is a very good chance that we've already shared what I'm about to share on the podcast, but I don't know that I've ever shared it with you, Sam Johnson. So, but I may have actually. It's actually quite possible that I have, but please just allow me to indulge. So we do this to Sara. I won't tell the full story about how it was originally about how many Supreme Court justices there are.
Too soon.
All of this. But I think someone else that was mentioned earlier, Jordan, was talking about, this was a while ago, like Liz Cheney's new book. So it's not new now, but it was at the time. No, it's so good. And so I'm like, Sara, do you know who Liz Cheney's dad is? And she's like, is it Dick Cheney? And I'm like, yes, that's amazing. What is he known for? And she said, God is my witness. She said,
And Sam and Cynthia.
Didn't he host that New Year's Rocket Eve show?
So good.
And when you know who Dick Cheney actually is, that is one of the funniest like images I could ever have in my head.
Amazing. Oh my gosh, that's so fantastic.
Man. Good times.
Yeah. So Sarah, the answer is a quorum is whatever your company agreement says it is.
Okay.
It's the minimum attendance that you need to have like an official act, right? So usually it's half plus one. So if you have 10 shareholders, you would need at least 6 people there to be able to have an official shareholder vote that counts for anything. Sorry. Okay. I know. I just took the fun out of it. I'm so.
No. I'm trying to figure out how many people I need to bring with me for my own LLC. It's just me.
Right.
I can bring a friend, is what you're saying.
Me, myself, and I.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. We're good.
Me, myself, and I. So,
but I want the debate really taken down in the minutes, Cynthia. Like, I want to see who said what and what the argument was about.
You will get it. Yeah. It will mostly be deciding on lunch.
This is actually what ChatGPT is good for. You need to give it a prompt to put together minutes from a meeting and put in those facts and see what it comes up with. Anyway, so we're going to get to, speaking of filing, some other things that are really, really critical this year. But I want to ask a few more questions of you. So one place where we intersect, which there's so much intersection between Sam Johnson and Lori Birch, but this one is business succession. And so, we deal with, and that's kind of the whole point of that one, the one example I gave of the car repair place. But that is something. So I don't know if you want to speak to that as far as, don't get complicated with law firms, because that's going to be our pet project. You're on my 2025 business plan. But when it comes to non-professional companies,
right.
What are the types of things that people should be considering or doing? Because I'm probably the only one here that has seen the movie Mommy Dearest, based on Joan Crawford's life. But the story was that Joan Crawford actually, so like her 10th husband, I don't know, was a high up executive with Pepsi Cola. And when he died, she inherited his interests because there was no other plan. So you can probably feel where I'm getting at, Sam. But anyway, there's a great scene. All that movie is great scenes.
But is that the one where did she like inherit too many wire hangers and just couldn't handle it anymore?
That is a separate scene.
Okay, got it. Yeah.
But there is a scene with her in the Pepsi Cola boardroom. And you might have to bleep this out, Sarah, but I'm pretty sure that one of her lines is, "Don't f*** with me, fellas." I might need an episode where I get 5 minutes to talk about Mommy Dearest. But anyway, it may or may not be this one, but right now it won't be. But Sam, so basically the idea is, you may have a business set up that you don't necessarily want your family to inherit that, but you would want them to benefit from your value in it. And there are literally hundreds of examples. There's franchises. There's even multi-level marketing. Sometimes they've got agreements in this and that. We're in Dallas, the home of Mary Kay, and it's very fascinating story too. Like, they need a movie about Mary Kay. I don't think they've done that. I actually remember before she passed, her driving on the tollway, seeing her pink Cadillac because it said Mary Kay on her license plate. But anyway, she hails from a time when women could own businesses. I'm not sure they can anymore. So I guess we'll find out in January. But very impressive person. And so anyway, you don't have to give the 100 examples there are, but like the most common things that you see and most common conversations that you have with people when it comes to they set up this business, what the heck do they do with it if they become, if they pass away, or even, and this doesn't come up enough, become incapacitated, whether permanently or temporarily.
Yeah. And I think the biggest issue is people just don't think about that and try to address it in their company documents. So right now I'm thinking about someone who started their own business, and I'll probably keep using LLCs as the example because LLCs are being formed at a rate of like 90-1 or something like that compared to corporations, for example. But like in the LLC,
would it be 9-1 or 90-10? What is 90-1?
I would have to ask ChatGPT.
Okay. Proceed.
Right. So like there's a couple of things. If you have, for example, like let's say you're the only owner of your LLC and you want to make sure that someone can manage it if something happens to you, whether it's death or incapacity, you really have to have something in place in your company agreement to let that happen. So like for an LLC, you would want someone else as either a designated temporary manager, so that if they need to deal with a bank or deal with someone that owes money or that you owe money to, they have the legal authority to act on behalf of your entity. Because if you're the only one, then if you're not around, no one else can keep that business going or at least receive the benefits of the business. The other thing I see a lot is like when someone invests in an opportunity, let's say it's a real estate deal and there's multiple people putting money in to buy a building, let's say, and those membership interests are going to be restricted. Only the person who's bought in is really the one that can own it, and you have to get authority to assign it or give that to someone else. And so what you could have trouble with is if somebody dies, if the owner of that dies, they may be prohibited from having their will pass that ownership interest on unless there's a special provision for that in their agreement. And that can be true even if you're the sole owner. So it's really a matter of thinking through and making sure that your documents allow for control or for you to dispose of that asset through your estate plan the way you intend to. Because if you've got your great estate plan done with Birch Law, but you don't, you like that?
Yeah.
But
shout out.
Some of your assets don't.
It's a sponsor.
Yeah, we're sponsoring this. Yeah.
Whenever we name a business, we usually say not a sponsor, but in this case,
they will say is the sponsor. Yeah.
Is the sponsor.
Yeah, only sponsor.
So yeah, it's really pausing to think about that and saying, all right, I know I want this to happen with my assets when I'm gone, or this is my concern of what needs to happen if I'm not able to run my business. And making sure that your documents actually track with that and allow that to happen.
Yeah. So my next question is, you have the same experience we do. Do you ever sometimes giggle when you say the word assets?
I will from now on. I think it's been a while. So
yeah.
Do you giggle when you say that word every time, Lori?
Not when I say it, but when Sam was saying it, I would go like,
okay.
Because, we, as Sam knows, we have the CYA plan, trademarked, cover your assets plan.
That's right.
Where we want to help everybody. So speaking of assets, which I want Sam, Anderson, and Tia and Sarah to know that I think of all of you as assets to Birch Law.
As you should. Should. Thank you.
Aww.
Really?
And
that's
she's
how you
going to
took
make
that?
sure you're covered as a result.
I feel appreciated. Thank you.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Of course. Well, I did this morning. The first time we convened, because we have Monday, Wednesday, Friday meetings. And so on our Wednesday morning, I told them that, look, there are a lot of people who are of the mindset that the sky is falling, and I don't want to neglect anybody's feelings. Like, don't do that. I spend a lot of my time before therapy bottling up my emotions, and it doesn't lead to good things, by the way. So feel them, go through them, but the approach I'm taking is then move through that and let's just hunker down and we're in this together. And I know that you've got a safe place where I have got your back and we'll get through this together. So anyway, it is
you were going to go into you've got a friend in me, but then you didn't.
So. No, I'm too nauseous to say things like that.
Sara can get that. We can roll that. You can add that in later, right?
Yeah, I can.
We can't afford that. No.
You're so right.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Absolutely. Okay. So I have a couple other things that I want to cover. We're definitely going to cover the filing here. But something that we encounter a lot, you and I don't know if you remember us having this conversation, but I remember having it with you, where with some regularity, we get people because they've Googled or because they talked to a friend or because they went to a real estate seminar, think that they can just put all their personal assets into an LLC to protect them. And there are estate planning attorneys who ascribe to that. They're few and far between. Most estate planning attorneys, and our firm is in this camp, think that's a horrendous idea. But I guess, and this is where I'm the one that doesn't know what I'm talking about, Sam. But I think what my understanding is where that thought came from is that if you successfully are able to sue someone with, even if they have personal assets in an LLC, that you get what's called a charging order. And basically charging orders are unenforceable in Texas, so they can't really get to you. I don't know. That's kind of like some hubbub there. But what are your thoughts about people who come to us to say, yeah, I want to put, they don't have any business. They're no business. Whether they do or don't, let's just say they don't for simplicity. They have a house, they have bank accounts, they have a car, all of this. And they're like, I want to put everything, including my homestead, into, we'll just use the LLC since people are doing that 90-1, whatever that means. They do that. What are your thoughts about that, sir?
I can't fathom why anyone would do that. I don't, that you may as well go form a general partnership.
They went to Google, they had a friend, or they went to a real estate seminar.
Right. Yeah. It's like the people who want to form Wyoming entities because they saw it on a real estate YouTube channel.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I think you've got better tools that will better protect your assets than an LLC could ever accomplish. So I don't understand why anyone who's ignoring these other sources as they should would ever do that. I mean, if you're not really operating your entity as a going concern, as like a real business, then that's classic setup to pierce the corporate veil, first of all. Secondly, the homestead protection for anything you can get under the homestead law is the best you can get. And thirdly, you have trust options. If you want to protect your personal assets, there are ways, and like, this is where I'm getting out of my depth, and y'all know a lot better, but there's trusts you can set up for this purpose that will much more easily align with your estate plan, but also, if it's the right type of trust and set up correctly, can help you protect against any creditors that you may have. Not all creditors, but most. Not to mention, then you've got to file a tax return for it and do your other compliance stuff. And again, going back to that veil piercing, I don't think you'll get that protection in the first place. No.
I just always wonder, I don't ask people this, but this is what I wonder, is like, what are you up to?
Right.
Yeah. Like, what shady stuff is happening?
I will say sometimes, and maybe there is something that it's more advanced planning than I've encountered, but sometimes with doctors, but Sam, you and I know you have malpractice insurance. I presume you have it. But I mean, why would Sam Johnson, he's the nicest lawyer in town, need malpractice insurance? No one would dare. But it's just a good idea to have malpractice insurance. But, with doctors, certainly they have that. And I think and then they have other protections that the only way to get them to be personally liable is if they do something really egregious and intentional. That's my understanding, but that could just be from Dateline. But I'm thinking, so when that comes up every once in a while, I'm just like, I don't know, maybe this is just too American of me. I think you should be held accountable for like I think you should be able to be sued if you did something really harmful and negligent.
What? You mean consequences?
Yes. I don't know. Anyway, so I think having insurance is a really good thing. Like a lot of the stuff that people come up with us, whether it's this or that or the other, it's not that you don't couple it with an estate plan or couple it with an irrevocable trust or couple it with an LLC, depending on what fits you. But the important thing is to go to a qualified law firm, not a law firm, and not online. So make sure you understand when I say qualified law firm, what I'm talking about. But I always feel like making sure that you have the right kind of insurance and those policies are up to date is always a supplemental and sometimes an instead of scenario when it comes to protecting your assets.
Yeah. The insurance is a no-brainer, right? And I'm no fan of.
But there's lots of people with no brains.
Correct. Even
see what's the latest vote count up to? Let me tell you how many approximately there
72 million.
That's actually, isn't that one of the best lines from Wizard of Oz, though, where Dorothy says to the Scarecrow, but if you don't have a brain, how can you talk? And he's like, well, aren't there an awful lot of people who go around talking with no brains?
I'm just amazed you had that quote at the ready, just like that.
If you have not noticed, all I am are movie quotes.
Yeah. All she is like a repository of you name it. She'll tell you.
Or music.
Right. Movie or music.
Right. I can find a quote too. Okay. All right. So I want to get to the Sam Sara segment, but I have a couple more things. One, what percentage of your business would you say is made up of Birch Law referrals?
A lot. Let me do it by sales calls. I'll bet at least half of my sales calls are referrals from Birch Law.
Woo!
Listen, in the past, we even sent you stuff we weren't even sure you could do. We were just like, try Sam Johnson.
Well, almost exclusively. That was only during the campaign.
Almost exclusively.
I said that to him.
Keep him busy with that.
Like last year.
That sounds good. Okay, I do one last serious thing, and then Sam and Sara. Well, we'll just get to that. It's good. It's good. But I'm sure that at least Sam Johnson has other things to go do. Tell us, this is critical. So I thought maybe we'd start here, but we're actually going to end here besides the Sam Sara part. Tell us what the heck is this BOI, which by the way, if you're in the LGBTQ community, BOI means a whole other thing. Sarah's like, huh? They didn't give me that memo. Did they not hit you that with your toaster? Boy.
1 second.
It's like a way to spell boy.
Oh, well, I got that.
Okay. Yeah. It also there's a huge cross section of other people who will use that. But anyway, that's not what it is. Although now Sam's going to pronounce it that way. And the Corporate Transparency Act. Sam, tell us, what the heck is this?
Yeah, boy. Yeah. It is.
How long is your boy?
Yeah. So the Corporate Transparency Act is a federal law that went into effect at the beginning of 2024 that requires almost every business entity in the United States to report certain information to the federal government about who their beneficial owners are. So that's where BOI comes from. It's beneficial ownership information. And so anyone who owns 25% or more of the entity, or anyone else who exercises substantial control, like a CEO, for example, has to file information like their name, date of birth, where they live, and like a driver's license number. And it's to help the federal government basically track who's doing business in the United States. It's mostly for anti-money laundering and anti-terrorism efforts, allegedly. But any entity that was formed before this year has until the end of this year to file this report. And so a lot of people have not even heard of this. A lot of law firm owners I know have not even heard of it before. But it's got some pretty hefty penalties if you don't do the filing timely and accurately. But in short, that's what it is. There are some exceptions, the ones that apply to mostly to our clients that do have an exception is like nonprofits or banks or securities brokers. Basically, people who have other reporting requirements usually don't have to do this if they're already pretty highly regulated.
That's scary that there is not a better way to communicate this. And I guess good news, bad news for people like us, law firms, is that we're under no obligation to inform people about this. Like there's no, Sarah, to use your word, liability, really, for us.
Right. Yeah.
To tell
and
people.
It's super simple. It's really, really easy. Like I think you did the same thing, right? We sent our clients, even though we didn't, you're right, there's no obligation to do it or to remind them as the deadline approaches. Like we sent all of our clients some information and the link to go do it for themselves. They can also pay us to do it, but it's so easy. We're like, here, go forth and file your BOI information.
Yeah, well, you sent me your letter and we copied it and made it better.
Yeah.
So that's
I wasn't going to say that, but yes, that's exactly what happened, and I'm honored.
What is being besties if not sharing?
Right. Exactly.
That, your knowledge and resources, right?
Right. I agree.
Although instead of a form that they have to fill out, we used something online where they just fill out the data and automatically submits it to us. So we kind of took it to another level, but it's okay.
That's right.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
No, that's okay. I appreciate you doing it and not even telling me. That's really nice.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I could have shared it with you, but it would have gone to us.
Right.
Which you want to pay us to file your BOI?
That seems like a missed opportunity. But no, I do sincerely appreciate all the help that you provide. And you're definitely, we have a handful of those. You've got quite a lot, but we actually ended up, because, our bread and butter is not business law, it's estate planning. We ended up, the ones that we knew where we filed, we sent specialized messages to, and then we ended up doing a mass email to all our clients. And I grappled with it because, nobody wants to be spammed, right?
Right.
Maybe they want to be Sammed, but not spammed. But we said, like, if you don't have a business, this doesn't apply to you. But we don't know. Like, we don't know. We have clients from 15 years ago. How do we know if they didn't set up a business? And I definitely wasn't. It seems to be more of a conversation people will bring up now, but that hasn't always been a conversation that people will bring up when we're talking about wills and trusts and stuff, whether they have businesses. Like, I don't know why people don't think to tell their estate planning attorneys all their assets, because that's kind of the point. But look, it happens with some fair regularity that we just go with it. Anyway, I want to be respectful of time. A little bit, but I was kind of late to start this because I had computer issues. But Sam, if you can stick around for another few minutes, Sam and Sara would like to pitch some business ideas to you.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
And to get your feedback.
Do we want to do the business name first and then explain, or other way, Sara?
I'm going to take this opportunity to say, at some point, maybe in episode 32, you all are going to have figured this out before we get to the recording.
No, this is part of the bit. They can't do that.
This is part of the bit.
How about y'all describe it and then say it's going to be called this?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
Oh my God.
Okay, I'll go first.
Okay.
So the first business idea we have is a mattress store. Speaking of money laundering, a mattress store to hide money laundering, because obviously me and Sam would be really good at that, and it wouldn't be suspicious at all. It's going to be called Mattress. That's it. That's the company name.
Is it going to be properly spelled, or is it going to be modern where you like take out all the vowels?
Oh no, they just put MATTRESS.
Oh,
I think with no vowels would be cooler though.
But see, this is why you have to go to an expert, people.
Yeah.
Do you see the minds explode?
Okay.
So what's my role in this?
Can I just say I think the 2 S's should be money signs?
Oh,
yes, not
He's rubbing
suspicious.
people, to make it less suspicious. Yeah.
Well, I guess Sam, your role here is: do you think that is a good business idea and model?
I'm sure financially that could be successful. However, lawyers are ethically prohibited from encouraging or aiding anyone in any scheme involving fraud or theft. So I have to say no.
That's a downer.
Oh, I know, right? Ethics every time.
Okay, next one then. All right, so maybe this one.
Okay, so we would demolish the Starbucks that's downstairs, and we would open a business that's not Dutch Bros, but it is, and we call it.
They're gonna call it Weed Sis. No,
Sam, come on, say it.
We would call it Swede Sis, like Sweden.
I think probably. I mean, the Dutch Bros was kind of a dead giveaway.
I do have a question though. How are you going to acquire the property from the Starbucks? You're just going to go downstairs and just demolish?
We're not going to tell them.
What about the Chipotle on the other side?
To demolish a business structure that you then want to take over. Why don't you just get Starbucks out?
I mean, I think I would suspect the type of connections they'll make in the money laundering business. They'll find some people who can muscle Starbucks out of the space.
And it's also, Sam, did you not think this through? It's attached to your Chipotle.
Yeah, it's downstairs.
Well, we'll just demolish half. We won't demolish the
right.
Just make sure no load bearing.
Be really careful.
Like the
Sam
avoid the load bearing wall.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're not in the construction business.
Me too.
All I can say is I can't wait to get a snack at Sweet Sis. I think that sounds fantastic.
Do you know what is very coincidental about this is that Dutch Bros, not a sponsor, has a drink, and it's one of my favorites called the Flapjack.
Oh, do they? I didn't know that. That's funny.
Okay. So, Sam, your verdict is maybe?
Yeah, I say go for it.
Heck yeah.
Okay.
Even with how they're acquiring the real estate?
He doesn't. We'll pretend he doesn't know. Fine.
You know, I feel like that hasn't been fully nailed down. So I'll say once you figure that part out, then it's a great plan.
The way Sarah really likes corporate jargon, so the way she'd like you to say it is put a pin in that and circle back.
Right.
Yeah, we'll circle back. Put a pin in that for now.
Okay.
All right. Our next business is going to be a friendship bracelet making store for the Swifties, and it's going to be called Swift Gifts for You.
And the 4 is the number 4 and then the letter U. I feel like that needs to be distinguished.
That is important.
Yeah, I think that's appropriate.
So wait, I have a question. Is this would be like the Swift part? Are you going to make it quickly, or is that just
it's quick?
Okay,
it's both.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
We're doing it right as Hertorians. You know.
Okay.
A really
Sam,
smart
your go.
financial decision.
I'm just curious, have you run a knockout search to make sure there's no trademark infringement going on?
There might be.
What that means. I don't know what that means.
Okay.
That won't stop us.
I would say IP related concerns aside, intellectual property, I think that would probably be more lucrative than Swede Sis and Mattress.
Okay. So far that's the winner. There are
Give me our passion project.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
There's a couple more.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Okay. So a business where we do DIY wills, but psych, it's under Birch Law PLLC, so they're getting their estate planning done right. Get got. And it's onlinewills.com, but but the O in online is a 0. The I think I did this wrong. The owls are just normal owls. The I's are supposed to be 1s.
I put it in the chat for you, Sam, just so you can look at it.
And then the S is a dollar sign.
I'm vetoing this for a number of reasons.
Can you have symbols in a URL?
That won't stop us.
I don't know.
Stop us.
Maybe
we'll
if
just
it's
write
like
money sign instead of if we can't.
What will stop you?
Not a whole lot.
But psych, it's under Birch Law PLLC. Do you think we have to trick people into doing business with us?
Well, my main reason for vetoing is I don't want my good friend Lori Birch to lose her law license.
I like being employed, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay. All right. Two more.
Okay. Sarah.
Next business we got is a dog petting service, and it's just called "Please Let Us Pet Your Dog."
I think there's a lot of promise in that. Wait, who's paying who for this?
That was my question.
Yeah, we pay you.
That's a terrible business proposition, by the way.
We're hoping they tip us really well.
I would come work with you guys on that one.
You know what?
All right.
I feel like you kind of ripped off an idea I floated a while ago, which actually could be profitable. And that is there's certain kind of dogs I want to just sort of have for maybe a weekend, like to rent, but I don't want the full, like a Mastiff. Like I really want
Please
one.
let us bring your dog
for like a weekend. So can you do like a rent a dog where I can just like hang out with one and then give it back, because I really don't want the responsibility of a dog like that long term.
I bet we could do like a dog, like a matching people who need a dog sitter with people who want a temporary dog.
Yeah.
Kind of like
traumatizing for the dog.
Website in the holiday when they switch houses.
Yeah, love that movie.
For the holidays.
Sam, you're just wonderful because you know that movie.
It's one of my favorites. It's awesome.
Switching pets. That would be interesting. Huh. Okay. All right. So maybe not the dog petting service, because it's not really a service. Yeah,
it can be both.
Okay, can you all say this last one?
You could offer the dog to people who want to pet it. It can be called "Come Pet My Dog."
Well, there's already a podcast, and I'm pretty sure they have a lot of IP. It's "Can I Pet Your Dog?" So just be careful.
Okay.
See, this is "Please Let Us Pet Your Dog."
Yeah, it's aware, but just
completely different.
Be careful.
All right, last one. I hope
I'm not going to be able to say this with a straight face.
I'm aware.
Interior designers, but we dress as Pitbull, and the only thing we say is "Dolly." And we hide a framed picture of Pitbull himself in every place we design, and it's called Worldwide Interior Design. Sarah's dressed up as Pitbull for Halloween. That's our context. I feel like it's
twice.
Yeah,
twice.
Good job.
Do you do other interior design, or are you really just going in and hanging a picture?
Correct.
This is the synopsis, Sam. If you need to read it, this is what they wrote.
Yeah. Well, I don't. Does he say Dale?
he does.
Okay. He does. Sam thought it was Dale.
Stop.
My
friend calls him Dale as a joke, and I thought that was his actual name.
My head is saying no, but my heart is saying yes to this. So.
Thank you.
I got some more IP issues there.
I feel like Pitbull himself would really like this idea. We're
I do
promoting
like
him.
the idea. I do like the idea of hiding a picture of Pitbull.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
And I do like the business name, finally.
Right.
There we go.
Is it, you probably couldn't get away with Mr. Worldwide Interior Design.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
I feel like he's got that lockdown.
But I don't know. I don't know that you could
Well,
trademark
hold on.
something
You can't
that's
trademark
as
a whole
generic
area
as
or a
Mr.
region.
World. Well, but I'm talking about the name Mr. Worldwide.
Okay.
That seems too general to be able to trademark, but I don't know. Sam Johnson, not Anderson.
I think you could trademark it as long as you're not just like a worldwide related business.
Oh, hold on. Apparently, yes, the name Mr. Worldwide is a trademark of American rapper, singer, and songwriter Pitbull.
He sings it in so many songs.
There's our answer.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Sam Johnson and not Sam Anderson, I want to thank you so much for joining us today. Well, Sam Anderson, I thank you for joining us every day.
Thank you.
But thank you. And contrary to how we started, I did have to carry this episode.
Sorry.
I would say
just
you chose
mean,
to,
yo.
But
yeah, you always choose to.
No,
right.
I got to.
It's a choice.
Mm-hmm.
I got to. But anyway, yes, thank you.
Thank you for inviting me,
Sarah. I have to go watch my children. So stop the recording.
Oh, I thought Sam was going to say something. I didn't want to cut him off.
Thank you. I was just saying thank you for inviting me, my dear friend, and it was great to see all of you today.
Thank you.
It's good to see you.
Thanks for listening. And just to cover all our bases about what you just heard, I'm sorry and you're welcome. Make sure you subscribe so you never miss an episode. And tell your friends about us. We do webinars and live events. The best way to stay up to date is to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube. Links are in the show notes. If there's a topic you'd like us to cover, maybe you have a question you'd like us to answer, or maybe you just want to say hi, hit the link in the show notes or go to birch-law.com/podcast and fill out the contact form.
Much better.
Yeah, I thought that had a lot of energy.